Hi everybody. Today's video presentation is going to be over Gandhi and the dedication of his life to nonviolent protest and civil disobedience. The two standards, or the standard and a half, that we're going to be focusing on today is going to be SS7H3 with the goal to analyze continuity and change in Southern and Eastern Asia being the broad focus, and the more minute scale that we're focusing in on is we're gonna try to describe the impact of Mohandas Gandhi's belief in nonviolent protest, and we're specifically interested in how that affects India's quest for independence. The first question we have to answer is, who was Gandhi? Mohandas Gandhi was born on October 2nd, 1869 in Porbandar, India. Gandhi was born to a distinguished family, and he was schooled from a young age. He received a lot of privilege that comes with being born to an upper crust family in India during that time period. From an early age, Hinduism and his mother instilled ideas such as vegetarianism, religious tolerance, fasting, nonviolence that would shape his life. And after completing his youthful education, his formal education, Gandhi traveled to England to study law. After his schooling in law in England, he accepted a position in South Africa. It was there that Gandhi experienced his first cases of discrimination and became an outspoken opponent of discriminatory policies. Instances of Gandhi's civil disobedience included refusing to leave his first class seat on a train when he was pressured to do so. He also refused to obey discriminatory policies by the government, including being fingerprinted and registering with the police. After his release from prison, Gandhi organized labor strikes and protest marches against those policies. His success in South Africa as a civil rights leader brought him a lot of fame and popularity around the world. After 20 or so years in South Africa, he returned to India in 1914 as a man renowned for his work against injustice. He was known as the Gandhi that we know him as. After his return to India, Gandhi devoted the rest of his life to fighting against the three greatest of evils that he thought affected India. Those included British rule of India, Hindu-Muslim disunity, and the caste system. Gandhi called for and led acts of civil disobedience and peaceful protest to British rule in India. Gandhi as the peaceful protester. When clashes between supporters of the British government and Indian nationalists grew violent, Gandhi canceled protest and called for peace and order. Gandhi refused to resort to violence and insisted that his followers do the same. He was determined and convinced that the only way to successfully protest injustice was to do so peacefully. It was the only way to bring about lasting change in India. Gandhi became well known for his nonviolent action. It's synonymous. When you think of nonviolent protest, peaceful protest, civil disobedience, you think of Gandhi. A couple of strategies of his that he found success with were protest marches, organizing protest marches, fasting as a form of protest, and civil disobedience. Some examples of these were the Salt March in 1930, probably his most famous protest march. His 21-day fast to protest detention without charges by the British in 1943 is probably his most famous case of fasting. And civil disobedience, the most popular example of that was his refusal to be fingerprinted and registered with the South African government. A winning strategy. Gandhi believed that the three components to any successful movement were mass protest, structure-based organization, and the creation of alternatives for the people. The successful deployment of these three components were ultimately effective in bringing about progress and change in India's quest for independence. India achieved independence from British rule in 1947 thanks in large part to Gandhi's insistence on nonviolence and steadfast leadership. A couple of quotes that kind of capture the spirit of Gandhi and his leadership and his quest for independence. Non-cooperation with evil is as much a duty as a cooperation with good. Be the change that you want to see in the world. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. The mantra is do or die. We shall either free India or die in the attempt. We shall not live to see the perpetuation of our slavery. And those quotes are just a handful of the great quotes that capture the spirit of Gandhi and what he was fighting for and what he represented, not only to the Indian people, but to people suffering from injustice around the world. Gandhi is the figurehead of the independence movement in India. You had different factions who were vying for control, vying for Indian independence, and many of them wanted to go about it in a violent manner. They sought to seize control of the government from the British by violent means. Gandhi was the lone, powerful voice who spoke up and said, if we want to bring about a lasting change, a permanent change, then we have to do it through a nonviolent means. It's the only way that we are going to make history, to make a change, to bring about betterment for our sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters. And he was right. If Gandhi, or even if the Indian nationalists had tried to fight the British Empire, they most certainly probably would have lost. And hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of lives would have been lost in the process. And they may not have been successful in achieving their independence. By listening to the message of Gandhi, by embracing nonviolence and peaceful protest and civil disobedience, India was able to gain its independence, and Gandhi became one of the most influential leaders in world history. All right, thank you for tuning into the video. Take notes as need be. Make sure that you do the informative reading that's also linked in the unit. You'll need information from this video as well as from the reading for your discussion post and your assignment.